My name is Rakitra An-to-nee-uh Prosper. I'm a math education major and I am your Miss University of the Bahamas 2026. So a few weeks back, a student reached out to me inquiring if I could answer a 048 final exam. I told them that I was going to, so here I am. I hope you enjoy, and please forgive me if I'm moving a little fast. This is my first time with the 048. So as time goes on, I'm going to learn our best to assist y'all, okay? So enjoy! Okay, answer all questions in the spaces provided on this paper. Show enough working to justify your answers. All answers must be simplified. Factorize the following expressions completely. So we're gonna split this down the middle because I see it's 4 terms, so I have a feeling that I need to split this down the middle. And I see factors that are common in both terms. So I see 7 is common in both terms and q is common in both terms. So I'm going to factor out 7q. Right? And then I'm going to divide each term by that. So 35 divided by 7 is 5. PQ, we didn't factor out no PQ, so we're putting that back there. Q divided by Q is 1, so we don't have to put that again. Minus 14 divided by 7 is 2. We didn't factor out R, so we could put that back. Q divided by Q is 1. So, and then plus, same thing. What factors are common in both terms? 3. 3 and R is common in both terms. So I'm going to factor out 3R. When I factor out 3R, I'm going to divide. So 15 divided by 3 is 5. We didn't factor out P, so we just put the P squared. R divided by R is 1. And minus 6 divided by 3 is 2. R squared divided by R. Remember, this is the law of exponents, the quotient rule. R squared divided by R. When you just have R like that, the exponent is automatically 1. So you just subtract the 2. So R2 minus 1. That just leave you with R. So you know you're doing on the right track when both brackets are have the same thing in it. So our final answer would be 5p squared minus 2r, 7q plus 3r. Okay? Now over here, when I look at this, I see the difference of 2 squares, right? But I see that they have a term that they have a factor that I need to factor out. Both of these have 5 in common. So I'm going to divide both terms by 5 first. So 125 divided by 5 is 25. So factor out 5, we left with 25 p squared minus 180 divided by 5 is 36 r squared, right? So now, difference of 2 squares, the formula for that is a squared minus b squared is equal to a minus b, a plus b, right? So you might want to say, what is a and what is b, right? What's the square root of 25? 5. So this is basically 5p squared minus 6r squared. That's what that is down there. That's what this is down here. Right? So our final answer would just be 5p minus 6r, 5p plus 6r. Oh, I need to do that square thing. Yeah, that's our final answer there. Over here, I just see 3 terms, not 4, so I know I don't have to split them down the middle. But I know I have to divide. I could see that these have something in common. Let's see if 7. Let's see if we can divide into 7. I just chose a random number. Try to pick the highest number you think they could divide into. So 91 divided by 7 is 13. So I know all of them can go into 7. So we're going to factor out 7. And what other variables can we factor out? I see p, q, and r is common in all. But we're going to choose the p that has the lowest exponent, the q that has the lowest exponent, and the r that has the lowest exponent. So p lowest exponent is p cubed, so we're going to factor out p cubed. Q, lowest exponent is squared, so we're going to factor out q squared. R, lowest exponent is squared, so we're going to factor out r squared. 35 divided by 7 is 5. So 35 divided by 7 is 5, so you're left with 5. P to the power of 4 divided by p cubed, we just left with p. Q cubed divided by q squared, we just left with q. R to the power of 4 divided by r squared, you left with r squared. Remember, when you're in the divide, this quotient rule, so that's r to the power of 4 divided by r to the power of 2. So r to the power of 4 minus 2, that's r squared. Now we're going to do that for the next term over here. So 70 divided by 7 is 10. P cubed divided by p cubed is 1. Q squared divided by q squared is 1. R squared divided by r squared is 1. So it just left 10 by itself. Minus 91 divided by 7 is 13. P cubed divided by p cubed is 1. Is 1. Q to the power of 4 divided by q squared is q squared. R cubed divided by r squared is r. So this would be a final answer. Over here, this is a quadratic equation of the form ax squared plus bx plus c, right? To factor it, we have to find factors of a times c that add up to b. So a times c, that's 5 times minus 24. 5 times negative 24 is 120. Negative 120, so I'm going to list off the factors of 120. I'm going to start with 120 and 1, 60 and 2, 40 and 3, 120 divided by 4, 30 and 4. Okay, add up to negative 26. So when I look at these, I see two factors we could use. We could use negative 30 and positive 4. Because if you add negative 30 and positive 4, you get negative 26. We want the two factors to be able to add up to negative 26 as well as multiply to get negative 20. So when you add 30, negative 30 plus 4, you get negative 26. And when you multiply negative 30 times 4, you get negative 120. So those are the two factors we want to use, right? So now we have 5x squared minus 30x plus 4x minus 24. So we're going to split these down the middle and then factor each grouping individually, right? So I see that 5 and x is common in both, so I'm going to factor out 5x, and I'm left with x minus 6. Same thing over here, I'm going to factor out, I see 4 is common in both, so I'm going to factor out 4, so plus 4, I'm left with x, 4x divided by 4 is x, 24, negative 24 divided by 4 is negative 6, minus 6. Again, you know you're doing the right thing when they have the same thing in brackets. So our final answer is x minus 6, 5x plus 4. Okay. Now we're going to go down here. Solve the following. So we're distributing. So 5 times 2z is 10z. 5 times negative 7 is negative 35. Equal negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. Negative 2 times negative 4z is positive 8z. So now I'm going to transpose and send this 35 over here. And when I do that, it's going to become positive. And then I'm going to send this 8z over here. When I do that, this is going to become negative. So we're going to have 10z minus 8z is equal to negative 10 plus 35. I'm going to be left with 10 minus 8 is 2z is equal to negative 10 plus 35 is 25. So my final answer is z is equal to 25 over 2, because I'm going to divide both sides by 2. So z is equal to 25 over 2. Okay. Now over here, when I see this, first thing I want to do is distribute this 7. So I'm going to have 7x. 7 times x is 7x. 7 times 1 is 7. 7x plus 7 divided by 12 minus 3x minus 1 divided by 16 is equal to 5. Now since I see fractions and I have two different denominators, I'm going to find the LCD. So I'm going to start by listing their multiples. Multiples of 12 are 12, 24, 36, 48, 60. Multiples of 16 are 16, 32, 48. I see that the lowest common denominator, the lowest common multiple that they share is 48. So the LCD is 48. So what I'm going to do is multiply both sides of the equation by 48. Okay. So we're going to have 48. We're going to have 48, 7x plus 7 divided by 12 minus 48, 3x minus 1 divided by 16 is equal to 48 times 5. Now you see 48 can go into both 12 and 48 can go into 16. So how much times can 48 go into 12? 1, 2, 3, 4. So 48 divides into 12 4 times. So we're going to have 4, 7x plus 7. How much times can 48 divide into 16? 1, 2, 3. So minus 3, 3x minus 1. And then 48 times 5 is 240. And now I want to distribute. So distribute. So 4 times 7x is 28x. 4 times 7 is 28. Negative 3 times 3x is minus 9x. Negative 3 times 1 is plus 3, equal to 240. Now what I'm going to do is make these things smaller because I need space. Okay, gonna add the like terms. So 28x minus 9x. 28 minus 9 is 19. So I'm left with 19x. 28 plus 3 is 31. So 19x plus 31 is equal to 240. Gonna transpose and send this 31 over here. When I do that, this becomes negative. So 19x is equal to 240 minus 31. 240 minus 31 is 209. So 19x is equal to 209. And let's see, is 209 is divisible by 19. So 209 divided by 19 is 11. So x is equal to 11. Okay. So we're going to solve this by factoring. Again, this is a quadratic equation of the form ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. So I'm going to be solving by factoring. So we're going to multiply a times c and locate factors of ac that add up to b. So a times c is 120. That's positive 120 now though. So let's just start our factors. 120, 1, 60, 2, 40, 3, 30, 4, 120 divided by 5, 24, 5, 120 divided by 6, 26. So, alright, so we're not going to use 30 and 4 because let's say we use negative 30 and positive 4, right? When you multiply these two, you get negative 20. We need positive 20. So just because they add up to negative 26, that doesn't mean we're using them. They have to add up to negative 26, but they also have to multiply to get a times c, and our a times c is 120. 3 times 4 is 120. It's positive. So our two factors, they have to add up to b, but as well as multiply to get a times c. So what we're going to use is we're going to use negative 20 and negative 6. Because when you add negative 20 and negative 6, you get negative 26. And when you multiply it, you get positive 120. Okay? So your factors not only have to add up to b, they also have to multiply to get a times c. Okay? So we chose our factors. So now we have 3x squared minus 20x minus 6x plus 40 is equal to 0. Let's bring this over because we need space. We're going to cut this in half. 20, I don't think 20 could go into 3, so no, yeah. So x is common in both, so I'm going to factor out x. And I'm left with 3x minus 20. And over here, can 40 go into 6? Okay, when I come over to here, I can see that 2 is common in both, so I'm going to factor out minus 2. So when I factor out minus 2, I'm left with positive 3x, and then 40 divided by negative 2 is minus 20. Again, you know you're doing the right thing when the brackets are the same thing. So we have 3x minus 20, x minus 2 is equal to 0. Now it's a solve, so what I'm going to do is set both equal to 0. And then solve for x. So 3x, when I transpose the 20, send it over, it becomes positive. So 3x is equal to 20, divide both sides by 3. X is equal to 20 divided by 3. And then over here, all I have to do is transpose the 2, so x is equal to positive 2. Okay, and that is our answer, this one. Okay, so now over here. Okay, so answer correct to 2 decimal places. This telling me that I would have low chances to solve by factoring, so it's telling me to use, this a hint for me to use the quadratic equation. Okay, so the quadratic equation is minus b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. So remember, 5 is a, negative 7 is b, and negative 13 is c. So all I'm doing is substituting the values into this formula. So equals, that's minus, don't forget your minus because b is negative 7. So I'm going to put my minus, open bracket, negative 7. That is important. Plus or minus the square root of b is negative 7 squared minus 4, a is 5, c is negative 13, divided by 2 times 5. Okay. So now I'm left with negative times negative is a positive, so I'll be positive 7 plus or minus 7 squared is 49, so 49 minus 4 times 5, let's do this, that's negative 4, so 4 negative times 5 is negative 20 times negative 13, that's positive 260, and then divided by 10, because 2 times 5 is 10. Now we have equals square root 7 plus or minus the square root 49. 260 plus 49 is 309 divided by 10. There is no square root exact value of the square root, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the answer correct to 2 decimal places. So what I like to do is, let's find the square root of 309, right? And I'm not going to correct it to 2 decimal places until the final answer. So the square root of 309 is 17.5784. and then we have divided by 10, right? So that's 7 plus 17.5784 divided by 10. So x is equal to, or x is equal to 7 minus 17.5784 divided by 10. So I'm going to put all of that in my calculator. So I'm going to put 7 plus 17.5784, 17 plus 7 plus 17.5784, that's 24.5784, 24.5784, and I'm going to divide that by 10. I get 2. Let me move this up. I get 2.45784. Now it's a correct to 2 decimal places. So correct to 2 decimal places. 7 is greater than 5, so that's going to become a 6. So x is equal to 2.46. Or same thing over here. 7 minus 17.5784. That's negative 10.5784. Negative 10.5784. Negative 10.5784 divided by 10. X is equal to negative 1.05784. X is equal to, again, 7 is greater than 5, so that 5 becomes a 6, negative 1.06. So x is equal to 2.46, or x is equal to negative 1.04. Alright, so okay, solve the formula for R. Okay, so solve the formula for R. So the first thing I'm going to do is multiply both sides by R minus 3. So when I do that, I'm going to be left with P times R minus 3. When I multiply this side by R minus 3, it cancels out. Okay, so I'm just going to be left with equal 5 pi R minus E. Right? Now I'm going to distribute this R. So that'll be PR minus 3P equal 5 pi R minus E. I'm going to send all the terms with R on one side and all the terms without R on the other side. So when I transpose 5 pi R, it's going to be negative over here. So this is going to be PR minus 5 pi R equal, when I send this over here, it's going to be positive, equals 3P minus E, right? Now I'm going to factor out R from both terms. So R, I'm going to be left with P minus 5 pi equals 3P minus E. Move this over. Now I'm going to divide both sides by P minus 5 pi. And when I do that, divide both sides by P minus 5 pi. Divide both sides by P minus 5 pi. You see, this divides into 1, so I'm going to just be left with R is equal to 3 P minus E divided by P minus 5 pi. Given that P1 equals and P2 equals, find the slope of the line that passes through P1 and P2. State the formula used, exclamation mark. So the formula for slope is y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. So our points are this x1, this y1, this x2, this y2. Okay, so y2 is 4, so it's going to be 4 minus y1, which is 1, divided by x2 is negative 8, so negative 8 minus x1 is 4. 4 minus 1 is 3. Negative 8 minus 4, that's negative 12. So simplifying, 3 could go into 3 once, 12 go into 3 4 times, so our slope is negative 1 over 4. Find the slope-intercept form of the equation of the line that passes through P1 and P2. So we're going to use the point slope formula, and that formula is y2. That formula is y minus y1 is equal to m open bracket x minus x1. Okay, so we're going to take, so now we're going to just substitute the slope and P1. So we have y minus y1 is 1 is equal to m. Our slope is m. So that's negative 1 over 4, open bracket x minus x1 is 4. So we just put 4x minus 4. Okay. So now we could distribute the negative 1 over 4. So we have y minus 1 is equal to negative 1 over 4 x plus, because negative times a negative is a positive, so that'd be plus 4 over 4. So now I'm going to transpose and send this one over. So that's y is equal to negative 1 over 4x. 4 divided by 4 is just 1, plus 1. And then when I transpose and send this over, that's going to be another plus 1. Plus 1. So our equation is y equals negative 1 over 4x plus 2. Okay. Match the lines in the figure below with the given slopes m. Undefined. So undefined line is just a vertical line going straight down. So that'd be 6, line 6. M is equal to negative 8. So slope of negative 8. So negative 8, a negative slope goes downward to the right. So you see this negative number, so a negative slope goes downward to the right. So I know that's 2, because that's the only one that goes downward to the right. 2. Okay, so m equals negative 8. So I'm going to choose the one that's wide. I'm going to choose, since it's negative 8, so that means they're going down 8 times and then over once to get to the next point. M equals negative 8. So first thing, negative slopes go downward to the right. So we're looking at the slopes that go downward to the right. I see only line 2 and line 3 go downward to the right. So it wouldn't be line 2, because you see when it has slopes like small negatives, like it kind of bigger, like wider, like you see how wide this is compared to line 3. So when you see m like and negative 8, it's more steeper. So negative 8 would be line 3. And if you still don't understand that, what I would suggest is to draw 2 graphs and then just plot. So if I draw 2 graphs, right, I could just put my dots here. I don't even gotta label them, right? I ain't even gotta label them. So let's mark here and just draw a slope, right? We start here. Our slope is negative 8, so we go down 8 times and over once. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then go over once. So right here, it's marked there. And now let's draw 2 lines. See how flat that is? Now let's do 2. M negative 2, right? So plot here, and then we're going to go down 2 and over once. 1, 2. So 1, 2, and over once. Go down 2, 1, 2, and over once. We'll post the mark there. 1, 2, and go over once right there. So mark here. Let's go down 2 and over once. 1, 2, and over once right here. See? You see how wide that is? See how wide that is? So m negative 8, that would be line 3, and m negative 2, that would be line 2, right? So m is 7 equals 7. So to see which one matches that, we have two positive lines, right? To see which one is which, because 7 is positive and 3 is positive, we pick in the one which line goes up faster. So remember, slope is rise over run, right? So which slope is going up faster? 7 would be rising up faster, so that would be line 5, because if you see this going up faster than line 4, so m7 is line 5 and m3 is line 4, and horizontal line 0, all lines with a slope of 0 are horizontal, so this is just line 1. Solve the linear inequality below and illustrate your solution on the real number line. So we're going to solve for x. So first thing I want to do is distribute this 3. So that'd be 7 minus 2x is less than 13 times 4. Three times 14. That's 42, and then 3 times x, that's plus 3x, and we're going to send all the x's on one side. So when I transpose this is going to be negative 3x, and when I transpose this over here, it's going to be negative 7. So it's negative 3x minus 2x less than 42 minus 7. So that's minus 5x less than 42 minus 7 is 35. Divide both sides by negative 5. Let's make that smaller. Divide both sides by negative 5. When you divide by negative, the sign flips. So when you divide this by negative 5, sign flips. So that would be x is greater than 35 divided by negative 5. That's negative 7. X is greater than negative 7. So solve the linear and illustrate your solution on a real number line. So x is greater than negative 7. So we have negative 7, negative 8, negative 6, negative 5, negative 4, negative 3, negative 2, negative 1, 0. So say x is greater than negative 7. So open circle. Be mindful of the inequality symbol. This is greater than, so open circle. And let's say x is greater than negative 7. So x are all the values that are greater than negative 7. So x are these values. This negative x are these values. This negative 6 is greater than negative 7. Negative 5 is greater than negative 7. It goes on to infinity. Okay. The grid below has the axis of symmetry, dashed line, and several points of a parabola. Use the graph to complete the table below for the given points. Determine the coordinates of the missing points and graph the parabola. Okay, so use the graph to complete the table below for the given points. So I see x when x is negative 3, y is positive 3. I see when x is negative 2, y is negative 9. I see when x is when x is a half, y is negative 4. So when x is a half, y is negative 4. I see when x is negative a half, y is negative 12. And when x is negative half, y is negative 12. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. I should have 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm missing a point right here. When x is negative 1, y is negative 13. So to find the other points, we have to substitute the values into this equation and solve for it. So 2x plus 1. So to find, does it say determine the coordinates of the missing points and graph the parabola? So 2x plus 1. So when y is 2x plus 1, solve for x. So when x is negative 5 over 2, just substitute. So y is equal to 2 times negative 5 over 2 plus 1. That's equal to 2 times negative 5. That's negative 10. Negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 2. See? That's 2 over 1 times negative 5 over 2. That's 2 times negative 5 is negative 10 over 2. Negative 10 divided by 2 is negative 5. So that's negative 5 plus 1. Negative 5 plus 1 is negative 4. So next for negative 3 over 2. Negative 3 over 2 plus 1. Again, the 2's just cancel out, so you just be left with negative 3. So y is equal to negative 3 plus 1. Y is equal to negative 2. Y is equal to 2 times 0 plus 1. Y is equal to 1 because 2 times 0 is just 0. Last one. Y is equal to 2 times 1 plus 1. Y is equal to 2 plus 1. Y is equal to 3. Over here. Now we could plot the missing points. So the missing points was negative 5 over 2 and negative 5 over 2. Just convert that to a decimal. That's just negative 2.5. That's right there. And then x is negative 5 over 2, y is negative 4, so right here. So plot the point right here. Next point is negative 3 over 2. 3 divided by 2 is just 1.5. So it's negative 3 over 2, so that's right here. And then negative 2, so right here. Okay. Next one is 0. So that's x is 0 and y is 1. So it's right there. And then last one is 1. So when x is 1, y is 3. So it's right here. Okay, so now use a graph to complete the table below for the given points. We did that. Determine the coordinates of the missing points. We did that. Graph the parabola. So they want us to just graph it. There you go. And that's the answer. State the coordinates of the vertex. These coordinates right here. So that'll be negative 1, negative 13. Remember the x value comes first. State the equation of the axis of symmetry. That's x is equal to negative 1 because it crosses negative 1. Circle the letter that gives the equation of the parabola. Okay, so for any quadratic equation written like that, so we have ax squared plus bx plus c, right? To find the axis of symmetry, our formula is x is equal to negative b divided by 2a. So all we have to do is substitute each one into the formula and see which one matches up with our axis of symmetry. So let's do this one. So remember, this a, b, and c. This a, this b, and this c. So the formula is minus b divided by 2a. So the first one, that's minus 8 divided by 2 times 2, because a is 2. So that's minus 8 divided by 4. That gives us negative 2. That's not what we want. So a is out of the picture. B, A, B, and C. B is 8. So that's minus 8 divided by 2 times A, which is 4. So that's negative 8 divided by 8, which is negative 1. So remember, our axis of symmetry is negative 1. B gave us negative 1, so our answer is B. You could still check the next two to see if they're right. So let's check them. B is, for C is negative 8, so that would be negative, open bracket, negative 8. Because remember, that's already negative, divided by 2 times 2. So that's positive 8 divided by 4. That would be positive 2. See, that's not what we want. Next one, again, negative 8 divided by 2 times positive 4. That's equal to positive 8 divided by 8, which is equal to 1. So don't want that because we want negative 1. So our answer is B. Use the graph to find the points of intersection of the parabola and the line 2x plus 1. So this is the line 2x plus 1, right? This is our parabola. So it's use the graph to find intersection points. So right here, so this negative 2.5, we want that in fraction form, so that'd be negative 5 over 2. Negative 5 over 2, negative 4. This would be, negative 5 over 2, negative 4. So negative 5 over 2, negative 4. And then the next point would be over here. That'd be 1, 3. Okay. And then you see number 8 is cut off, so we can't answer number 8. Let's move on to number 9. Okay, determine the graph. Okay. So one thing I know, it's not going to be this nor this because those are negative values. So those would be, since this x squared is positive, the graph opens up, but it doesn't open down. It only opens down if it was negative, right? So what I'm going to do is factor this. When I factor this, so factors of 4 that add up to 5. So factors of 4, we have 4 and 1 and 2 and 2. When we add 4 and 1, we get 5, and when we multiply 4 and 1, we get 4. So this would be x plus 1, x plus 4. Right? So our x's are negative 4 and negative 1, because when we solve for 0, when we solve for x, we get negative 1. When we solve for 4, we get negative 4. Right? So if you're looking at the graph and you use critical thinking, right? These are the negative x values, right? And somewhere around here, regardless of the units you use, somewhere around here you can mark negative 1. And then the other way, or over here, you can mark negative 4, right? But over here, you see this where the x values are positive. You see we don't have no positive x value. Both of these are negative. So it can't be none of this one, because one of these values would have to be positive with this one. We don't have a positive x value, so it only could be C. Okay. Determine the graph of, so what I'm going to do is, I'm going to solve for y. So I'm going to send that 4x over, so we have negative 7y greater than negative 4x plus 14. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 7. And when we divide by negative, the sign flips. So this would be y is less than negative 4 divided by negative 7x plus 14 divided by negative 7. Simplify. Y is less than, that would be positive 4 over 7 x, because the negative divided by negative is a positive. And then minus 2, because 14 divided by negative 7 is negative 2, right? So now, right off the bat, we're looking at our inequality sign. Our inequality sign is less than, so our line would be dotted. It wouldn't be solid like these two. So these two are automatically not our answer. So now we're going to choose a test point that's not directly on the graph. For both, the test point that's not directly on the graph is 0, 0. So we're going to substitute 0, 0 into the inequality to see if it satisfies it. So test point 0, 0, we're going to substitute 0. So y is 0. So let's say 0 is less than 0 minus 2. So 0 is less than negative 2. 0 is not less than negative 2. The side with 0, 0 doesn't contain the values that are less than 4 over 7x minus 2. So we're going to shade the side that doesn't have 0, 0 on it. So this is the side with 0, 0. So we're going to shade this side. So D would be our answer. Okay? But this question always is an interesting one because they might want you to shade the side with the wanted region, or they might shade the side with the unwanted region. So I would suggest before your final exam, see if you could confirm with your teacher. But when it doesn't state specifically, you'd always shade the side that contains the true values, and these values contain the true values. Okay, so graph the solution set of the following inequalities by shading the unwanted region. So what we're going to do is, the second equation we're going to solve for y. So that's 5y greater than or equal to negative 6x plus 15. Divide both sides by 5. Y is less than or equal to negative 6 over negative 5x plus 15 over negative 5. Simplify. Y is less than or equal to 6 over 5x minus 3, right? So we're going to plot, so the two values we're going to plot is x is equal to negative 3. See, I just sign x is equal to negative 3. And then y is equal to 6 over 5x minus 3. So I just switched the signs to equal. So I'm going to plot those 2 points. X is equal to negative 3 is just a straight line going down negative 3. Okay. And we're going to label it. Now, to see which side we're going to shade, is I shade the unwanted region. And also, remember this is a dotted line because of the inequality sign. So be mindful of the inequality sign because that determines whether it's a dotted or solid line. Okay, so this less than, so the line is dotted. So to determine which side you're going to shade, they want the unwanted region shade. So this say x is less than negative 3. So we want the values that are less than negative 3. The values that are less than negative 3 are over here. So this is this wanted region. This side will be the unwanted region because this contains the values that are greater than negative 3. Let's plot the next one. So our y-intercept is negative 3. So we're going to plot negative 3. And then our slope is positive 6 over negative 5. So we're going to go up 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And we'll go over 5 times. 1, 2, 3. My pen cut off. Go up 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Go over 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So right there. Draw a line. Okay, and that's not a straight line. Okay, hold up. Where did the dot go? That was there. Okay, so now we're going to label our line. We're going to label it y is equal to 6 over 5x minus 3. And that's a solid line because of the inequality symbol that's greater than or equal to. So the line will be solid. So to determine which side we're shading, again, we're going to choose a test point that's not directly on the line. So let's pick 0, 0 and substitute it into the formula. So that would be 0 is less than or equal to 0 minus 3. which is just 0 is less than or equal to negative 3. 0 is not less than or equal to negative 3. So we're going to shade that side because that's the unwanted region. This side contains the values that does not satisfy the inequality. Since this gave us an inaccurate, a wrong solution, we're shading the side with all these values because all these values over here would give us a wrong solution. And we want to shade the unwanted region. So we're shading the side with 0, 0. That little spot down there is our answer. Okay, and that's our final answer. Okay, so match each statement with the matrix it describes by putting the letters in the spaces and the blanks provided. So I'm going to start off with a column matrix. Column matrix is just one row going on, one column going down, so that'd be J. Row matrix would just be one row going across, so that'd be C. Identity is just ones down the diagonal, so that's A. The diagonal matrix are numbers that going down the diagonal, so you see 1, 1, and then negative 1, so that'd be E. Square matrix has the same number of rows and columns, so let's cross off what we already used. So we use J, C, A, and E. So H, because they have the same number of rows and columns, so we could use H. The difference of, so we have to actually subtract the 2. So subtract the numbers in their respective positions. So 3 minus 2 is 1. 3 minus 0 is 3. Negative 1 minus negative 4, let's write it. Negative 1 minus negative 3, not negative 4. That's equal to negative 1 plus 3. That's equal to negative 1 plus 3, that's 2. So 2. Negative 2 minus 0 is negative 2. Negative 2 minus 0. 5 minus negative 1. 5 minus negative 1. That's 5 plus 1. It's equal to 6. Negative 4 minus 0 is negative 4. Okay. So that would be 1, 3, 2. Negative 2, 6, negative 4. That's G. The transpose just make the column a row. Okay, so you making the columns a row. Transpose of that, the first row would now be negative 1, 3, 2, and then the second row would be 2, 6, negative 4. Okay, so that would be F. The product of, so the product of, so we're multiplying to, okay, so we're gonna have our end result is gonna be 3 by 2. So our end result is gonna be almost like this, 3 by 2, just not the same numbers, right? So we're multiplying row 1. We're multiplying this row by these to get the numbers on the top, right? So this value would be so that would be, let's use this, 0 times 2 plus negative 1 times negative 1. Next one, 0 times 6 plus negative 1 times 3. Last one would be 0 times negative 4 plus negative 1 times 2. Right? And then the bottom row, so we have 1 times 2 plus 0 times negative 1. Next we have 1 times 6 plus 0 times 3. Last we have 1 times -4 plus 0 times 2. And now we could simplify that. So 0 times 2 is just 0, plus -1 times -1. -1 times -1 is just 1, so that's 1 here. The 0, -1 times 3 is -3, so -3 here. The 0, -1 times 2 is -2, so that's -2 here. There's 2, so it is 2 plus 0, which is just 2. 1 times 6 is 6, 6 plus 0, which is just 6. This -4, -4 plus 0 is just -4. So this would be our answer, 3/2. Okay, so that would be F. Okay, so the next one, the product of this and this, that would create a 2x3 matrix. So you multiply in all the 1s by that to create the first row, and you multiply in all the 2s by this to create the second row. So that would be -1 times 1 is -1, -1 times 3 is -3, -1 times -2 is +2, 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 3 is 6, 2 times -2 is -4. So it's supposed to be D, not F. I write F twice. It's D. So D and F taken. -1, -3, 2, 2, 6, -4. Okay, so that's B. Okay. Alright, and that's our answers for this section. Okay, so now solve the following simultaneous linear equations using matrices. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is write the system in matrix form. So we have -5, 7, 4, excuse me, space 4, -6, and then we have x, y is equal to -40, 58, right? So ax is equal to b, right? And then this is a, this is x, and this is b, right? So now we're going to find the determinant. So the determinant is AD minus BC. So remember this. A is B, this C, this D. So the determinant is determinant is AD minus B times C. So that's equal to -5 times -6 minus 4 times 7. That's equal to 30 minus 28, which is equal to 2, right? So now we're going to find A inverse. So A inverse, right? A inverse is equal to 1 over AD minus BC times D minus B minus C A. So you switch A and D, and then you make B and C negative, right? So we're going to find A inverse, okay? So all you have to do is substitute, right? So we already found the determinant, that's 2, so that's just, A inverse is just 1 over 2. And then switch positions. D is -6, so -6 goes here. A is -5, so -5 goes here. And then you just make 7 and 4 negative, right? So A inverse is a half, -6, -4, negative. So now we're going to multiply A inverse. We're going to multiply A inverse times B. So multiply A inverse times B, right? So we have a half, -6, -7, -4, -5 times -40, 58. Right, so now I'm gonna multiply. So our top entry we have, that's -6 times -40 plus -4 times 58. And then our bottom entry is -7 times -40 plus -5 times 58. Right, and that's way too much space. Right, so now, Lord, I need space. Gonna just make all of this smaller. This is equal to -6 times 40. Get my calculator. 40 negative times 6 negative, that's positive 240. 40 negative times 7 negative, that's 280. 58 times -4, negative 232. So that'd be minus since it's negative 232. And then 58 times -5, it's minus 290. Okay. So 240 minus 232, that's 8. And then 280 minus 290, that's negative 280 minus 290, that's -10. And we just multiplied the two, don't forget there's a half here. There's a half here, so we still have, so when you saw this, sorry child, when you saw this, just be mindful that this is xy equal to such and such, right? So we already multiplied these two, right? We still have the half, so this is still xy equal to a half times 8 -10. Right, we already multiplied these two. That's what we did over here. We're multiplying the two. We still have to multiply this by the half, right? So this is xy is equal to 4 -5. Say x value is 4 and your y value is -5. Okay, the surface area of a closed box is 988 square inches. If the length is x inches, the width is 3 inches less than twice the length. If the length is x inches, okay, so length is x, the width is 3 inches less than twice the length. So 2 times x minus 3, because we don't know the length yet. The length, x represents the length. So the width is 2 times the width. So the width is 2 times the length minus 3. So 2 times x minus 3. And the height is 2 inches more than the length. So x was 2. Calculate the value of x. So you would have to know the formula for the surface area. You have to know the formula for the surface area of a rectangular prism. So that's what this is. And that formula is, so the surface area is 2 LW plus LH plus HW. Right? SA is the surface area. LW, this length times the width plus length times the height plus height times the width. Right? So all we have to do now is substitute. So the surface area is 988 equal to 2. The length is x, so that's x times the width x times the width, which is 2x minus 3, plus the length times the height, so plus x. The height is x plus 2. Remember, all I doing is substituting. We found the length. This is the length. The length is x. We found the width too. This is the width. We found the height too. This is the height. So all I doing is substituting them in. Plus the height times the width. Height is x plus 2. So the height is x plus 2. And then the width is 2x minus 3. Right? So now close this. So now we have to do a lot of work here. So that's 988 is equal to 2. X times 2x is 2x squared. X times minus 3 is minus 3x. X times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x. X times x is 2x squared. X times minus 3 is minus 3x. 2 times 2x is 4x. 2 times 3 is negative 6. Okay, so now, okay, so we have 2 plus 1 plus 2, that's 5x squared. So let's just draw a line, draw a circle above them so we don't put them in again. Okay, so now we have minus 3. Use your calculator. Minus 3 plus 2 plus 2 minus 3 plus 4. That's 0, so they completely cancel out. So now we're left with negative 6. Okay. So 988 is equal to, so we're going to distribute the 2. That's 10x squared minus 12. I'm going to do an x is carry this 12 over, transpose. So when I do that, I'm going to be left with, when I transpose the 12, it's going to be positive. So this is going to be positive 12 plus 988 is equal to 10x squared, right? 988 plus 12 is 1,000. So we have 1,000 is equal to 10x squared. Rewrite it over here. 10x squared is equal to 1,000. Now I'm just going to divide both sides by 10. So when I do that, I have x squared is equal to 1,000 divided by 10 is 100. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. When I do that, I'm going to be left with x is equal to positive or minus 10. Right? You don't deal with the minus, right? Because if you're using critical thinking, the volume can't, the area can't be negative, so we ain't dealing with a negative 10. So x is equal to 10. So our length, x is 10. Our width is 2 times 10, which is 20, minus 3, which is 17. Our height is 10 plus 2, which is 12. And you could always check. So let's check. This is the formula for surface area, right? Let's substitute these values in. So 2 times length, which is 10, times width, which is 17, plus length, which is 10, times height, which is 12, plus height, which is 12, times width, which is 17. So, and let's see. So 2 times 10 times 17 is 170 plus 120, because 10 times 12 is 120. 12 times 17 plus 204. Right? Now let's add up everything together. 204 plus 120 plus 170 is 2 times 494. 2 times 494 is 988. So these values are correct. Okay? Calculate the volume of the box. I believe they missed out the x. So the formula for volume is L times W times height. So volume is 10 times 17 times 12. So let's get a calculator. 10 times 17 times 12. 10 times 17 times 12. So that's 2040. So the volume is 2040. Okay, so the volume of a sphere is, find its radius. So you have to know the formula. Formula for volume of a sphere is 4 over 3 pi r cubed, right? So let's say the volume is 792 pi. So what we're going to do is substitute. Okay, so let's say the volume is 972 pi. So we're going to substitute 972 pi. Right? So now what we're going to do is multiply both sides by 3 over 4, because when we do that, this fraction becomes 1 and it stays over here. So we're going to multiply this entire equation by 3 over 4, so we can move the fraction from here and over here, because we want to get r isolated. So I have 3 over 4 times 972 pi. That's equal to, when we multiply this side by 3 over 4, they cancel out and that'll be 1. Okay, so you'll be just left with pi r cubed. So 972 times 3. So that would be 2,916 pi divided by 4 is equal to pi r cubed. So now we're going to multiply both sides by 1 over pi, because when we do that and we multiply this side by 1 over pi, you see the pi's, this become 1, and when we multiply this by 1 over pi, it divides out, so you wouldn't have no pi left over. So multiply both sides by 1 over pi, so that's 1 over pi times 2,916 pi divided by 4 equals 1 over pi times pi r cubed. So you're left with 2,916 divided by 4, and now you're just left with r cubed. Okay, and then 2,916 could divide by 4, so you're left with r cubed is equal to 729. And now you're going to find the cube root of both sides. So the cube root of 729 is 9, so r is equal to 9. Okay, so r is equal to 9 is our radius. Okay, so given an arithmetic progression, determine the common difference. So let's just subtract 2 and 7. So 2 minus -7, that's 9. And so 11 minus 2 is again 9. 20 minus 11 is again 9. So the common difference is 9. Which term is 191? Let's use the formula an is equal to a plus n minus 1 times t. Okay, so we could just substitute the term, which is n. So an, we can substitute 191 for an. A is the first term, which is -7, plus n is the term we're looking for, so n minus 1 times t, which is a common difference, 9. And now we could simplify. So 191 is equal to, this 9 is being distributed just because it's in the back. It's the same thing as it being in the front. We distributing the 9. So that'll be minus 7 plus 9n minus 9. Simplify. 191 is equal to minus 7 minus 9 is negative 16 plus 9n. We're going to transpose and send the 16 over. That make it positive. So we have 9n is equal to 191 plus 16. See, when we send it over, it'd be positive. So we just be left with 9n is equal to 191 plus 16. 191 plus 16 is 207. Divide both sides by 9. N is equal to 23. So 191 is the 23rd term. Okay. Move this over. So calculate the 32nd term. So similar, we're going to use we're looking for A32, right? So again, first term is negative 7 plus, they say 32nd term, minus 1 times 9. We're going to substitute, we're looking for A32. That's equal to negative 7 plus, that's 32 minus 1, which is 31 times 9, so 31 times 9. 31 times 9 is 279, so that's equal to 272. So 832 is equal to 272. 33rd term is, 32nd term is equal to 272. So find the sum of the first 32 terms of the arithmetic sequence. Okay. So we're going to use the formula Sn is equal to n divided by 2, 2a plus n minus 1 times d. Okay. And it's say 32, so S32 is equal to 32 divided by 2 times 2, again negative 7, plus 32 minus 1 times 9. Okay, so now all we have to do is simplify. 32 divided by 2 is 16. 2 times negative 7 is negative 14. Plus this 31 again times 9. 31 times 9 is 279. Okay. So this is S32 is equal to 16. 279 minus 14 is 265. So S32. So S32 is equal to 4,240. Okay, so we're given the geometric progression. Find the 11th term of the sequence. So the first term is 5 over 16. So we're going to divide. We're going to divide the first two terms to figure out the common ratio. So common ratio, that's 5 over 4 divided by 5 over 16. So let's see that. So that's 4, right? So we're going to use A and 4. Okay, so the formula A11, that's A R to the power of n minus 1. So that's equal to 5 over 16. R is 4 to the power of 11 minus 1. So it's equal 5 over 16 times 4 to the power of 10. 4 to the power of 10 is 4 to the power of 10 is 1, 0, 4, 8, 5, 7, 6. So I'm gonna multiply that by 5 over 16, so that's 5 over 16 times this, and that gives me 1, 0, 4, 8, 5, 7, 6 times 5 over 16. That gives me 327,680. Okay, that's our answer. Okay, so find the sum of the first 11 terms of the sequence. So we're going to use the formula Sn is equal to a r to the power n minus 1 divided by r minus 1. Okay, so S11 is equal to A is the first term, which is 5 over 16. For common ratio, 4 to the power of 11 minus 1 divided by 4 minus 1. Okay, so we definitely need more space. Okay, so 4 to the power of 11 is this 5 over 16. 4 to the power of 11 is 4,194,304. Subtract 1, that's 4,194,303. So that's 4,194,303 divided by 3. Okay, so now let's go. Here you go. Okay. So 5 over 16 times that would give us 1,310,715 divided by 3, and our final answer would be 100,036,905, and that is our answer, and this is the paper. Okay, thank you for sticking to the end. Once again, this is my first time doing a paper for 048. Forgive me if I didn't explain it the best way. Okay, I wish you all the best in your final exam, and please WhatsApp me at this number below so you can stay in contact with me as your